time for Voice of Indie. Your hosts today are Beem Weeks, author, producer, and marketing monster for independent multimedia publisher Fresh Ink Group, and Stephen Gies, author, producer, composer, and publisher for Fresh Ink Group.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Voice of Indie podcast. This is episode number 143. I am your host, Beem Weeks, and with me in a new place tonight is my co-host, Stephen Gies. How you doing tonight, Stephen, and where are you at?
I'm doing all right. I'm looking out the window at Lake Michigan right now. I'm in the top part of Indiana, Michigan City, Indiana. I've lost my 95-year-old Aunt Jean in Michigan, so I'm up here for a funeral. But didn't want to miss the podcast tonight, especially since we've got Mr. Flitcher on. So, hey, let's get this show going. Or as Pink would say, let's get this party started.
Let's get this party started, yeah.
You doing all right up there?
We're doing pretty good. We've got some
actually over
a little
there.
bit, a little bit of warmer weather. The thing of it is we had upper 70s and lower 80s for six consecutive days last week, and it was just summer's here. We're going to bypass spring, and then the slap in the face. We had snow flurries yesterday, a little dusting of snow. I mean, just really cold. All the flowers that had bloomed are pretty much dead now. The frost got a hold of them and killed them. But we're edging back up. We were in the 50s today, so I'm not going to complain too much about that.
So we've had an exciting week at Fresh Ink Group. As you know, we've been uploading files like madmen, and we've got a new book out by Najma Thomas, Ph.D., and her book should be appearing in various retailers from now until who knows, but over the next couple of days or so, it'll be in pre-sale for a May 19th release, and it's a book called As We Remember, and it's about the Fred Washington Senior Women's Relief Corps of Beaufort, South Carolina. It's a kind of a scholarly work. It's historical, got classic pictures, tells the stories of these ladies and basically the whole history of this organization over 130 or so years. Excellent. So as we remember, it's so fresh, so new, we don't even have the video made for it yet, but everybody keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, definitely. We do also have Volume 3 of Robert McKenzie's The Chair Saga, and we have a audio commercial for that, and I believe we also have a video for that. Didn't we finish that video?
For which one?
For the chair?
Oh, no.
No, we haven't finished that. All right. Well, we got so many videos that we're working on and finishing.
I haven't even done the animations for that one yet.
Okay. Well, I know I've got the folder started because I've been pulling pieces for it, but yeah. All right. But that's coming out soon, and keep your eyes out for that. And we're going to have Robert on the show here in a few weeks, so mark that on your calendar. If you want to be part of tonight's show, call in, tweet. Here's how you can do all that.
Call 516-453-9902 right now with your questions or comments for tonight's guest, or post a note on Twitter with hashtag Fresh Ink Group in the body of the tweet, and we'll read it on air. That's 516-453-9902 or hashtag Fresh Ink Group on Twitter.
All right.
Another recent release, The Calling Dream by Carlisle Toms. Now, we do have a video for that. It is made, and it's doing real well over there, getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of views on YouTube in the Fresh Ink Group channel. And by the way, if you're not subscribed, make sure you like the videos, make sure you share the videos, and subscribe to the Fresh Ink Group channel while you're there. But The Calling Dream by Carlisle Toms. And those of you who are active on Instagram, Carlisle is very active there. You should go over there and follow him and check him out and see what kind of stuff he's been posting. He's keeping it busy. So that's The Calling Dream by Carlisle Toms.
Yeah, and also we have Redemption, A Father's Fatal Decision by Gwen M. Plano. That is out now, and that is garnering many positive reviews. There are a lot of people who are fans of Gwen M. Plano, and they're saying this is her best book to date. So if you like good mystery, crime thriller type of stuff, this book, this is what it's about. So get out there and take a look at it. And if you want to know about other releases and other guests on this show and all things Fresh Ink Group and Voice of Indie, we have a newsletter that you can subscribe to, and here's how you do that.
Stay on top of these podcasts and all things Fresh Ink Group with our weekly digital newsletter, new releases, videos, stories, excerpts, interviews, and more. Sign up now on the homepage of freshinkgroup.com and be the one who knows what's what.
All right, so let's take a quick gander here at what's going on with the Fresh Ink Group print bestsellers. What are the cumulative numbers and what order are they ranking? And right now, our number one bestseller is Submariner, 30 Years of Hijinks and Keeping the Fleet Afloat. And that would be the paperback edition. In the number two slot, the recent release, How to Paint an American by Andrew McGregor, who's going to be a guest on this show in a couple of weeks. And we do have a video for that one finished, too, over in the Fresh Ink Group channel on YouTube. Check that out. It's a very cool video. How to Paint an American by Andrew McGregor. Number three slot, the hardcover edition of Submariner, 30 Years of Hijinks and Keeping the Fleet Afloat by Jerry Pate with help from Robert G. Williscroft. The number four slot, How to Teach Driving, the Parents Edition. Parents Edition is still outselling the Instructors Edition in that two-book series, and it's going, hardcover. Yeah, the number four slot here is being held by another hardcover book, How to Teach Driving, Parents Edition. Next, How to Start and Run Your Own Food Truck in Florida. That's the paperback edition by A.K. Wingler. And then the paperback edition of Shipwrecked and Rescued, The City of Bangor by Larry Jorgensen. Larry just went through 200 copies of the book himself and just ordered another 200 last night. So he's doing a lot of business in terms of and selling the books while he does that, or having people write to him or go to his website and order autographed copies of the books. And he charges a lot of money. Just between you and me, he's charging a lot of money for those books. So to borrow some money, we know who to hit up. Okay, yeah. American Agony, The Opioid War Against Patients in MQL, paperback edition is next up. Then you mentioned Gwendolyn Plano earlier. She's writing as Gwen M. Plano now, but her first book, Gwendolyn M. Plano, Letting Go into Perfect Love, Discovering the Extraordinary After Abuse. That's a memoir about learning how to rise above bad relationship situations. We mentioned How to Paint an American. Here's the hardcover edition coming on strong. Next up, and then the hardcover edition of Shipwrecked and Rescued by Larry Jorgensen. Now we've got a Robert G. Williscroft entry here, Operation Ivy Bells, a Mac McDowell mission, the paperback edition. That's the first in the four-book series of the Cold War submarine thriller, the latest of which is Operation Whiteout. What's going on with the audiobook there, Beem?
Operation Whiteout, that's available. It's out there. You can get it, and I did the production on that. Really cool thing. Cool sound effects and all kinds of nifty little. Kind of sounds like a radio play almost, one of the old school radio plays. So if you're into audiobooks, check it out.
Yeah.
Operation Whiteout.
Now the next
mission.
Yeah, next is Manhattan therapist Vladimir Kalixty, the hardcover edition of her Naked and Transparent, 6 Vital Tools for Knowing Yourself and Attracting Healthy Relationships. So, good week for relationship books. And then, Still Not Enough, Minority Millennials in the Workforce by Janelle A. Jordan. And that's the paperback edition. Now, we'd have the How to Teach by Lesson Instructors edition next up on the list. And again, it's the hardcover edition that's outselling this. On those driving books.
You're kind of cutting out, Stephen.
Am I? How about this? Is this pretty good?
Yeah. You want to reread that last one because we didn't get the title.
The last one was How to Teach Driving Behind the Wheel, Lesson by Lesson, Instructors Edition by Kenneth Lindquist, and that's also hardcover. So both of the hardcover editions are what's selling the best. How to Start and Run Your Own Food Truck Business in Georgia, paperback edition by A.K. Wingler, and then The Calling Dream, which we just talked about a few minutes ago by Carlisle Toms. And then this one's a fun one to see on the list. Fresh Ink Group Short Story Showcase #1, edited by me. And that's 54 short stories by people from all across the country and around the world who entered a contest. By the way, we're running another contest now. We are filling a folder with short stories for our next anthology, and any of you who have a short story out there that you think is pretty darn good, we'd like to see it and maybe put it in the anthology. So get with us. Next two books are Outshine, an Ovarian Cancer Memoir, second edition by Karen Ingalls. It's a poignant memoir about her own struggles dealing with ovarian cancer, and now she uses these books to help educate others and to raise money for cancer research. The hardcover book is outselling the paperback, but they are both back-to-back next on this list. Then we've got Mary Schmidt's Sammy, Hero at Age 5, the poignant memoir about losing her 5-year-old brain cancer. The High Road, Memories from a Long Trip. Who's that by?
That's by Mark Herndon, former drummer of the country music supergroup Alabama.
Yeah, that's one of our perpetual bestsellers, paperback edition. Now, Sassy Discovers the AME Church, the first of the two Sassy books by B.A. Johnson. And then the hardcover edition of American Agony, The Opioid War Against Patients in Pain. Dr. Burrell's been out there working on that book. We've seen her a lot on social media this past week or two. Now, When Angels Fly, which is the other version of the memoir that was by Mary Schmidt, but this one is a fictionalized version of losing her son, and it's under the name S. Jackson. And then finally, we're going to round out our top 25 with the hardcover edition of The High Road, Memories from a Long Trip by Mark Herndon. So congratulations, everybody. You sold a book or two.
Yeah. All right. And while we're talking about books and whatnot, I see we have a couple of Twitter tweets from Verwayne Greenhow. He says the audible version of In the Marsh went live last night. A woman walks the short distance from the New Year's Eve party to her home in a snowstorm, but she has never seen alive again. And that's on Audible, so get over to wherever you buy your audiobooks and grab a copy of it. Verwayne also says we have a heavy thunderstorm system moving into the area. It has just started raining and the storm is growing, so I may or may not be back tonight. So we're hoping you're listening here, Verwayne, and we will see here. I think that's it. I see we have Dr. Helen. She's left a tweet on here as well, but this is kind of promoting the calling in and whatnot, so we will. I know she's listening tonight, so that's cool. Welcome aboard, Dr. Helen. I'm glad that you're listening. If you miss a show, you miss an episode, or you're new to the show and you want to listen to past episodes and find out what we're all about, we've got an extensive and ever-growing archive. This is episode number 143, so we're building them. Here's how you can find the various archives.
Find your favorite show in the Voice of Indie archives on YouTube at Fresh Ink Group, StephenGees.com, BeamWeeks.com, FreshInkGroup.com, and on Spotify. And now you can listen on iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and tune in. Just search The Voice of Indie, all one word.
Yeah.
All right, so why don't we roll our first commercial and then introduce this week's guest? And this, I believe, will be the world premiere of a new commercial.
Yeah.
As We Remember documents the remarkable story of a Women's Relief Corps chapter in Beaufort, South Carolina. The WRC is a national organization established as an official auxiliary to the Grand Army of the Republic in 1883. A Women's Relief Corps post has existed in the city of Beaufort in various forms since 1892. While much of the record of the early Buford Corps was passed through the esteemed oral history tradition, in 2019, members commissioned a study to ensure their story would be documented in print form and told for many generations to come. That story centers African American women as lead agents of change and co-creators of the patriotic spirit, an important theme given that historically the national WRC was primarily white-led, and in southern localities like Buford, completely segregated. Beyond documenting the members' experiences, this story is compelling in the larger context of our nation contending with changing notions of its national identity and definitions of patriotism. Written and compiled by Najma Thomas, Ph.D., and proudly published by Fresh Ink Group, this fascinating history is available in all ebook formats, or grab your keepsake edition in full-color softcover or laminate hardcover, or listen to the audiobook narrated by the author. As we remember, a history of the Women's Relief Corps in Beaufort, South Carolina.
All right, sweet.
Wow. So, this week's guest is somebody that we've had on the podcast one time before. It's good to have him back again. A.G. Flitcher is the pseudonym that he uses for writing, his pen name. We're going to call him Andre while we're talking, but A.G. Flitcher has been writing for nearly 10 years. He has done everything from screenplays to novels, poetry, research articles, and journalistic articles. He has found that over time, he wanted his writing to be focused on how the human spirit is tested, whether it causes positive or negative change in a character. He has a bachelor's degree in creative writing from Kwantlen's Polytechnic University, which helped him build his foundation as a writer and gave back his love of reading that he had lost for so long. However, his education is not what made him the writer he is today. It's life, his perseverance, the value he sees in himself, and the value others see in him. Welcome to the show, Andre.
Welcome, Andre.
Hello.
Good to have you
I'm
back.
happy to be back. Yes.
So how about we kick this off with you kind of refreshing everybody. Where are you from? Where have you lived throughout your life? And where are you now?
All right. I'm from British Columbia, which I am still in this place. I was born up in Vancouver, which is the mainland of where I live. And then when I was about 3, my dad got a job down in Abbotsford, which is in the lower mainland, and we basically live now in Aldergrove. So since I was 4, and my sister was born there too, in Aldergrove, we've been here since. So yeah, it's been a long time living in a small town.
All right. So now we see that you went to college, and it says that you it kind of gave you back your love of reading. Were you a reader as a child? Writer as a child?
Not a writer. I mean, I was always creative, but not in the storytelling sense. When I was 11, I think, I was still going to full-on francophone schools, and one of the, I guess you could call her education assistant, she introduced me to Harry Potter, and that was the first fantasy book that I read, and it was in French. So I was actually introduced to Harry Potter in French, which was rather strange. And because I wanted to actually get the full scope of the whole series, I had my mom buy me a first edition English copy of the first book of Harry Potter. So since then, I just nonstop was reading books. And then when I went to university to get my associate's degree in creative writing, I went from reading books to being more of a screenwriter. That was my interest then, because I wanted to, do my associates and then go do a minor in film production. but because that fell through, I changed course and got an education in personal training for exercise. And then when that didn't work, I went down the rabbit hole of YouTube videos and just didn't really care, creatively speaking. But I picked it up again when I started to try and collaborate with other artists. So this friend of mine and I tried to create a children's book together, but because I didn't have much background in marketing or even how to produce a book or anything, I didn't understand her thought process in terms of marketing first, creativity second. So I went back to school and transformed my associate's degree into a bachelor's. And because I had to do a lot of reading for my classes, that's what kind of reignited the flame, not just for reading, but also for my motivation in terms of being a storyteller, and that I can say as a novelist that I can create something that I can hold in my hand and say, I made this. I can actually hold a piece of art in my hand and say that I am the creator of this.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah, definitely. So you got into script writing, but then got away from it pretty quickly. Did you ever produce anything that you wrote a script for? Did anybody else ever produce anything? And then what were you doing on YouTube? Was that part of your script writing?
It's quite pathetic, actually. When I say YouTube, I mean like I was kind of vegging on the YouTube rabbit hole of just watching videos, where instead of actually being actively engaged in the story, my brain just didn't want to be enthralled by a story. And I don't know why. Maybe I think I talked about this before with you guys, but at that time, my mom had passed away. So maybe the grievance that took maybe like 4 years for me to process, maybe that's what killed my my love of reading and just overall voluntary need to be transported into another world. And I guess I was also utilizing my grief selfishly to package my pain into storytelling. But now that I've completed my series, Boone and Shack, I do feel that I have utilized creativity as a healthy resource to exercise my pain, not just for my own selfish reasons, but to also share everything that I've learned in life in this time that I've written this series with others. Because I know there are other people that have suffered too with whoever they've lost in life, and maybe they don't have the tools to process their pain, or maybe they're oblivious to how to process their pain, or maybe they don't even want to. There's all kinds of people out there that are in pain and just either don't know how to get past it or don't want to, because it means that they have to let go of that scar and let life grow around it.
Okay, we're gonna want to know more about, when we talk about the books too, how you work that into a story and what exactly you were doing there. Right now, we need to run another commercial, and then Beem, we have a caller.
We do.
All right. Well, let's run a commercial and then talk to somebody.
All right. We are talking with author A.G. Flitcher tonight.
Now, from science fiction master Robert G. Williscroft, the Oort Federation, to the stars, the second Oort Chronicle. As the Oort Federation becomes a major force in the solar system, Braxton Thorpe passes the Federation chairmanship to former U.S. President John Butler. Thorpe's group offers humanity virtual immortality, but Isidore Orlov and his Udachny enterprises oppose their every move. While Thorpe's group terraforms Mars for more living space, the Mars Reds prove formidable as resistors. If the Asterian Starship fighter pilots are released, will they align with Phoenix or Udachni? And who will develop the right FTL technology? In this tense space adventure, Thorpe, his team, and Max the Tabby Cat travel to Proxima Centauri and beyond to the Aster system, 84 light years distant. Will Thorpe bring together humans and Asterians in their quest for intergalactic travel? Will long life prove more than mere humans can handle? Grab Icicle, a tensor matrix, the first Oort Chronicle, and continue the journey with the Oort Federation to the stars. Proudly published in all print, digital, and sensory-enhanced audiobooks by Fresh Ink Group.
Yeah, sensory enhanced.
Yeah, the third book in that series is in progress right now, too. We're excited about that. The first two are doing very well. That's the same author who does the Cold War submarine thriller series. And those are also available in audiobook.
Audiobook.
Can't beat that. All right, who we got on the phone?
On the phone, we're going to go to Cook County, Illinois. Hello, Chicago. You're on the air. Hello, caller.
Hello? Is that for me?
Hello. Yes, that's for you.
That sounds like Patricia A. Guthrie.
Yes, it is.
Hi,
I'm
Pat.
back.
Welcome back.
I'm back.
It's been a while since we've heard from you.
I know. But I'm okay now, I guess.
Well, that's good.
Well, you sound better.
Yeah. I've had a rough winter. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. So what do you think of this AG?
I'm a diabetic.
What do you think of this AG Flitcher?
Well, he certainly is prolific.
Yeah.
I'm just interested in where he's going to take his writing from here.
That's a
good question. Yeah. So I like that you use that word prolific because I know writers that are like one and done, where they'll either do one book or one series and they're happy with it and they'll move on with their lives. I can't do that. That's not how my brain functions. I have too active of an imagination and too much life experience to use as tangible material to create a diverse array of stories. So for the next 5-6 years, I have a bunch of plans. So that means 5 to 6 books that will be standalone novels. And then I'll be doing another jump into fantasy series, which will be my brother-sister adventure story. But that's not for a while. So for now, I'm focusing on a serial killer novel, a female serial killer novel. It was originally going to be a character origin story, but through my own research and watching true crime documentaries, reading up on how things work in the law enforcement place, and I'm actually going to be doing information interviews with a few people. I learned that the effect that a killer has on society and the victim's family members is quite volatile and intense. So I'd rather focus on that aspect of that subject. After that, I have a dystopian novel that I'll be working on, and then a 3-in-1 fantasy novel, and then a romance slash. It's kind of weird, but it's a Frank Sinatra Twilight sort of energy, where this detective is working on a missing persons case, and a gypsy gave her a photo of what her true soulmate could be. But that's not the point of the story. The story is that she doesn't believe in love, and by the end of it, she believes in love and basically goes on her first date. But the whole idea is that she is no longer stonewalled from emotion and becomes open to that concept. And then lastly, after that, I will be attempting something rather ambitious, something I've always wanted to do. I'm a big Stephen King fan, and one thing that's always fascinated me, and what also always fascinated me is the fact that he can take a simple title and make it memorable, make the story memorable. So my favorite book so far is It.
Me too. I love It.
I know. It's so crazy to me that that's such a popular book, and it's literally 2 letters for a title. So I'm going to be writing a book called Tar, which is about this dark energy that is inside Earth's core that kind of seeps out into a small town in which it crawls across a desert and into the town. And this well-off rich family that came from the city moves into the town, and they are thrown in to this whole, scary chaos, and they have to somehow keep the city, the town from sinking. So, yeah, lots of things on the go.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, sound like you're awful busy, Andre.
You have a great things going for you.
Yeah, when I was working on the last book of my series, Bunujak Sahon, that was the biggest book I've written, which is around 476 pages. And I was like, you know what? If I can write that easily, and that's like throughout a whole series, then I can definitely write standalone novels that can be about 6, 7, even 800 pages without me feeling like I'm stretching it too thin. Because the thing about storytelling that I've acquired over time as a skill is that I'm a very detailed writer in terms of imagery and emotion and all that stuff. So to be able to tell the full scope of a story in one book beyond 400 or 500 pages, it's not a challenge for me anymore, because at first when I was writing, I had no idea what I was doing. That's what I mean by I started as a screenwriter. Screenwriting is very formulaic, this is what happens on screen, where a book, you are writing a story in stone. So that means that you have to somehow be able to engage your audience on paper, and that's not easy in this day and age. That's one of the things that terrifies me as a writer is, am I actually going to get people to voluntarily buy a physical book? But I know I can, because I've had people buy the entire set without even looking at it, because it just seemed interesting to them. So the fact that I can write 5 books and not have to try that hard to convince people to buy it means that I'm not only a prolific writer, but there's something about my personality, my spirit, that people are drawn to. And that's why I'm so ambitious and so motivated to inspire people to live their life differently.
You said 800 pages. Now, is that single-spaced or double-spaced?
It's the word count, Patricia. It's the word count that matters.
The word count, yeah. Time to write your essay, Andre.
It's always impressive if you can attract an audience without also having to learn how to dance at the same time.
Yeah, sure is.
Let me get my tap dancing shoes.
Well, do you have any more questions there, Patricia?
No. I'm fascinated to read some of your...
Well, we thank you for calling in. And like we said, it's been a while, so it's good to hear from you again.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Take care.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I'm going to hang up, but because I don't want to lose you. I want to stay on.
We'll mute you. That way you can continue listening.
Okay, that way she can hear the next commercial for How to Paint an American.
All right.
In the wake of September 11th, a man who grew up with his mother in Eastern European brothels, comes to New York City searching for an adventure, identity, and home. The USA has other plans for him, though. It'll give him what he wants for a price. A series of imposed quests drives our beleaguered hero through America's dark heart, from New York to Boston to a Walmart on the outskirts of Atlanta, where he finds and spreads damnation and salvation while working the night shift. Published worldwide by Fresh Ink Group, grab your copy of Andrew McGregor's How to Paint an American in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook formats. How to Paint an American.
All right, and that is
we're happy taking off too, and it's kind of fun because McGregor's out there promoting it around the world and sending me notes like, "Quick, how do people order it from Norway?"
And when Steven says around the world, he's not kidding. This guy's a world traveler. He might be in Japan one minute, and the next thing you know, he's sending an email from France.
Yeah.
So, I see over here on Twitter, Verwayne Greenhouse says, our power just dropped, so I'm putting this out with my cell. I'm going to try to listen, but if I can, I'll catch it on the YouTube channel or from one of the other various sites that host it. I hope you have a great show. Well, thanks for giving it the old college try there, Verwayne. We appreciate that. Now, Andre, go ahead. Steven?
Go ahead.
You saying something?
I was just going to say what the phone number is in case anybody else wants to call in.
Oh, well, give it a shout.
That would be 516-453-9902. We're talking to A.G. Flitcher. Call in, make a comment, threaten, whatever.
Got a question? Shoot the question in. So now kind of touching back to you talking about having the personality that people connect with and whatnot. Do you do a lot of book signings, meet and greets, and things like that with
You see, what's funny about that? I used to do that a lot, but the chain bookstore here in Canada, I've had so many problems with them in terms of communication. And whenever I ask them about sales, they say that people aren't able to find the book, and I'm like, well, that's on you though. You keep moving my book from place to place. How are people supposed to find my book if they I would go every 2 weeks to see what's going on, and I can never find my book. And I'm like, hey, do you guys know where this book is? And I go looking, it's all the way in the back where no one looks, and it just sits there collecting dust. And then they move it over to somewhere else that's a bit more popular. I'm like, okay, great. So I would do book signings every 2 or 3 months at that store because it was the only one selling it. But what I found to be a bit more resourceful and useful and better results is just online. So I stopped doing book signings, not because I'm sheepish and I don't want to broadcast myself. It's more like I'm refining my presence online so that stores come to me instead of the other way around. And to me, that's better because that means if stores are coming to me, they'll be more eager to help me be more marketable in their area. So it's more like I'm just talking to people and meeting people. And actually a friend of mine who works in the film industry, she's going to start helping me with my publication and broadcasting me to a bigger audience. That's what I mean by reorganizing myself and figuring out how I can maximize the target audience that I do have now and expand upon that. So
I think and the whole online thing, that's the biggest footprint for an author. I mean, we have literally have the world at our fingertips. So, there are some people that don't put as much stock into that, and unfortunately, they're not reaching the wider audience. But I think those days are kind of dwindling because most people understand the power of the internet, of being online. You can hear from people in Europe while you're sitting there in Vancouver or California or wherever.
Yeah, and one of the things that's been helpful to me as a new, I wouldn't say a new tactic. It's more like it felt right to do. Whenever I finish doing a podcast interview, I obviously send a thank you email or letter. And now I'm going to include like a digital copy of one of my books as a thank you, so that they can themselves get a feel for my writing style. Because yes, I can talk to no end and really, explore and glamorize myself, but ultimately comes down to how you see me as a writer, and in extension, your listeners. So that's something else that I'm trying out.
Well, that's a good idea. I've done that. I've been on other people's podcasts, and I usually send like a physical copy. If somebody wants it, I'll sign it and send it to them. And I've sent out quite a few of them. So yeah, that's always a good idea. I mean, you're connecting with not just the podcasters, but the people in their audience as they get to know you. Yeah. Like our audience, they're getting to know you.
Yeah. So, Andre, as you refine your presentation and your image and how you're putting your work and your authorship out there and stuff, what direction do you see this going? Are there things that you want to try? Do you have some plans? Do you have anything on the drawing board, as it were, or things that you think might be working? In other words, where are you going with this?
I see what you're saying. Okay. Well, like I mentioned, my friend who works in the film industry, one of the things I wanted to do with her once the cobwebs are kicked out and we can figure out what we're doing, I wanted to do a kind of like a proof of concept for bringing my series Boonjack to the screen. So I could write like a 5-10 minute script and present it to her, and we would maybe even do a little short film to showcase that to other film producers to see if we can get someone's attention to bring this to the screen, because it's one of the things I've always wanted to not just achieve, but to see how my books could be seen as cinematic, because I always write through a cinematic lens, and that's something that I've been trying to accomplish as a writer, is to be able to say that I can bring my storytelling to the screen, and that's something that I'm quite ambitious about and quite determined to make a reality.
All right.
Well, obviously, you want to move toward big production script writing and stuff. Would you still write novels? I mean, do you see, like 10 years from now, for example, you've got two or three in post production, but at the same time, would you just focus your energy there, or try to do it all?
Well, my goal is to be, obviously, like any novelist, be able to do that for a living. I still have a day job, and I'm hoping to be able to leave that lifestyle and be able to write full time, and just use that as my main job and create other hobbies, and therefore turn that into other opportunities. Like, I've always wanted to take acting lessons, singing lessons, other musical instruments, and other skills that have to do with creativity, and therefore diversifying myself as an artist, so that I can say that I'm not just a writer, I'm an artist of all sorts. So that's really my ultimate goal, is to be able to not just perfect and improve my writing, but to really explore other lanes of creativity.
Speaking of day jobs, what is your day job? What do you do for a living?
I am a maintenance and trade worker at a zoo.
I remember that from the last time.
I didn't remember that from the last time.
Yeah, I do. I remember. I remember that now. So
we bought a zoo.
Does it allow you time to write, or are you so busy that when you come home from work maybe you're tired? Although you've got quite a few books out, so I'm guessing you do once you get home from work.
Well, you see, what's so funny about that is over time, I can focus in everything at work, and I'm always doing my due diligence in my position, and I'm able to put out a good outcome for whatever I'm doing at work. But I've been there for so long that I'm kind of on autopilot. So my brain, in terms of creative juices, is always working, because I've been doing the same job for so long, and I've acquired many skills, and it's gotten easier that I can think about writing while I'm at work. And then when I'm on my days off, that's when I write. So I'm able to write like 4,000 to 9,000 words a week without feeling drained.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can run story ideas by the chimpanzee. Honest feedback. Every time you get the script back, the notes always say more flinging poop, more flinging poop.
Yeah, more ass scratching.
Yeah, exactly. I think we need to run another commercial, Beam.
Sure. All right. We are talking with author A.G. Flitcher, and if you want to speak with him, if you've got a question or a comment, 516-453-9902.
A grand epic saga by Robert Mackenzie. The Chair series spans centuries, touching the lives of 22 generations of related mothers and daughters, their stories witnessed by a simple pine chair. Resolute, strong, loving, and fiercely protective, these women must strive to pass their values to new generations in a world of racism and sexism, politics, scandal, fashion, even the rise and dominance of baseball. They live in privilege and poverty with faith and despair, relishing every moment of love, even as they suffer abiding grief. Volume 1, Lightning, Thunder, and Glory, spans the 1600s through World War I, while Volume 2, Faith, Hope, and Love, follows these women's descendants into modern times and beyond. In Volume 3, 7, 8, and 9, the Chair flashes back to pre-Civil War America, featuring a woman from the Second Mayflower, her daughter, the black market Irish lace importer, and a Canadian World War I fighter pilot. A blend of history and philosophy told through satire and parody, the story of the Chair could be found in some old trunk in any dusty old attic, but Mackenzie breathes it alive with riveting tales that span the real and the imagined. Proudly published by Fresh Ink Group, the Chair series by Robert Mackenzie is available worldwide in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook editions.
Yeah,
right.
The thing about that guy's voice that does that voiceover, he reminds me of somebody who should be doing voiceovers for beer commercials. Tastes great, less filling.
Or the heir apparent to Sunday.
Be there.
I gotta say right now, I'm looking at the sunset across Lake Michigan over Chicago, and it looks really cool out there. And if you get just at the right angle and look to the left, you can see the nuclear power plant. Wow. Nature at its best.
Maybe that's not the sun you're looking at. You're looking at the nuclear meltdown.
Yeah. So we're talking to Renaissance man, because he does it all. But what else do you do, Andre? I mean, what do you do in your spare time for laughs? And we know you live up there where everybody likes to play hockey. Does that apply to you?
No. The last time I was doing a sport was karate.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I stopped doing
so then
that.
you know Chuck Norris, right?
Yeah.
You hang out with him?
Yeah, I have a chin growing out of my fist, and I can punch anybody. When I had an ankle injury because of karate, I stopped training after a year of rehabilitation. Not just because of the injury, but because I did it for so long. I did it for probably 21 years. I realized that I outgrew the culture of not just the exercise, but the whole being part of an organization and the whole disciplinary ambiance, and that I didn't really need that anymore. I felt like I got so much out of it that once I got what I wanted and more, I didn't have the passion anymore to continue. So when I had the opportunity to leave, I did. Not to disrespect those who taught me, but I didn't need it anymore. I wanted that to be just part of my past and use what I learned from that and carry on with life.
So basically, you wanted to just sit and eat Twinkies and write novels. Don't need the exercise, right?
Yeah.
No.
Now, Andre,
yeah.
Moving on to your writing process and whatnot. You're talking about writing, these like 450-page books, and now you're looking at maybe something around 600 or 800 pages. Do you outline these stories, and what's your process for putting these together?
Well, that's changing like literally right now, because with Boone and Jack, over time I stopped outlining. I kind of just jotted down notes of how I wanted the story to go and what exactly I had as an outcome, and then I just kind of winged it. But because I used Boone and Jack not just as a writing exercise, but as a practice for all kinds of skills and genres to delve into, now I'm going to start actually outlining, but only roughly. So, for example, for my serial killer novel, I decided to make it feel like a big 5-act theater piece. So, to make sure that I stay on course and stay organized, I wrote down a rough blueprint of what I expected the story to go through. So, one of the things that's going to be a little bit confusing unless I explain it, I'm doing what I call a 4-character rotation. So what that means is there's 4 characters that we're focusing on, and whenever you go through a new chapter, it says chapter and then name of character, and we're leading that part of that story through their perspective, whether it be first person, second, third, or omniscient. It depends on how I want to go about it. Because when I was in school, we actually learned about multiple POV, and now we can work that into one story. So that's what I'm going to be trying to achieve here. And of course, it's going to take a lot of planning, make sure that it's organized and well structured and all the bones of the story make sense. But as to what actually happens in each chapter, I'm not going to go that structured. It's more like, as long as I understand the layout of the story and where it's going to start and then end, then I have a good sense of what I'm going to achieve there.
Yeah, that whole idea of each chapter being a different character, Barbara Kingsolver did that brilliantly in the Poisonwood Bible. That's my all-time favorite novel, and each of those chapters is a different girl or woman telling this story from her point of view, and it's you pick up the different personalities. I mean, she just did it brilliantly. Like I said, that's my all-time favorite novel. Just, I mean, wonderful, wonderful book.
And the way I'm going to be doing about this, it's going to be, in my eye, very fresh, because it's different kinds of characters that have a different connection to the killer. So the first one would be a detective, and whether there's a correlation or not is to be learned later. The second one is two sisters that host a radio show about criminals. And then the third character is a doorman at a big fancy hotel. And then the last one is a victim's family member, but be it a mother, grandparent, doesn't matter. But what they'll all do is they'll have a different part and different connection as to who this killer is, a different kind of connection. Maybe they're not even disconnected, but they'll have some kind of connection to that character that will be the needle and thread that takes an array of characters and string them all together.
Will each of these characters narrate their own parts, or is this going to be like third person, you'll just be in their heads?
Yeah, it'll be something like that, but what I'll do to keep it from being monotonous is that the narrative voice will match their personality and overall atmosphere that they live in. Like, for example, the sisters, aren't really self-aware. They're confident in who they are, but they're not self-aware. So the narrative will play to that energy. And even like, let's say the background energy, it could be just blurry noise, and they don't really care because they're so self-involved that they don't notice it. Something like that.
Yeah, that's actually a really fun way to do point of view through a narrator. It's where the narrator has the knowledge but doesn't realize he or she has that knowledge.
Exactly.
Always revealing things without even realizing what's being revealed. And I've read a bunch of things that way, and it's always fun. It sounds like a real cool way to do it. But man, you start juggling lots of points of view. That's when I start needing to outline myself, because that's when I want to look at what is the overall flow. Am I spending too much time in one point of view and not enough in this other point of view? Or in the second half of the book, all of a sudden I'm in this one point of view a lot. I really needed to go back in that outline and introduce that character a little bit sooner. That kind of stuff. It's all a balance.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, what I started doing when I was doing my research is I started to do a lot of character studies. So for the detective, I watched a lot of true crime documentaries and started reading crime books, and I interviewed criminology professors from South Africa and Massachusetts. And hopefully it pans out, but one of my friends is friends with a criminal profiler. And that's very useful for me, because when I was watching the show Mindhunter, that was talking about the birthing of criminal profiling in the 70s and the term serial killer in the 70s, it really gave me an eyesight as to who my detective is going to be. And for radio host, these two Spanish sisters, and this is a real thing, they have a podcast called Cafecito and Crime, so shout out to them, to Estella and Barbara. Your show is amazing. They're very spunky and spicy, and they have a very fun, sassy attitude where they're always like talking about something funny before they even start talking about the serious subjects, and it's very how can I put it, very I guess mouthy language, but not in a crude way, but in a fun way. Where there's this one episode, I'll try to be clean about this. So
it doesn't matter.
Don't try too hard, Andre. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're not like the censorship board here. So
okay, so for like 6 minutes in this one episode, talking about the Indiana killer. I don't quite remember the exact name, but anyway, for the first 6 minutes, her sister, I think it was Stella, says to Barbara, "So, tell him someone stole your donuts. Someone stole my fucking donuts, bitch." So like, this very loud energy. I was just like, where is this going? So she just starts rambling on about how unfair she's being treated. She's saying, "I'm a good person, so how can someone steal my donuts? And you gave me crappy coffee," and all this stuff. And then when they start getting into it, they were so excited about it. And then as soon as one of them says like the actions and gross things that this killer did, the other sister was like, "Oh, that fucker." And it just goes on like that. And then they start saying like their ideas and how they would act in that situation. Very like as if they're literally in a room, and it's just these two sisters are just like so excited about murder. And I thought that was such a funny concept as a podcast. So I was like, okay, that's the energy that I'm going for to alleviate the darkness in the story. So I was like, okay, I need to come up with like kooky names for the characters. So I came up with Kiki and Kiwi. And the show is going to be called Crime is a Spicy Bitch.
All right. Now, we are going to take a commercial break here, but we are talking with author A.G. Flitcher, and the phone lines are still open. You still have time to call in, 516-453-9902.
Submariner, 30 Years of Hijinks and Keeping the Fleet Afloat. Jerry Pate's semi-autobiographical collection of 60 stories recounts his 30 years in and around the U.S. Navy submarine fleet, ranging from lighthearted to wrenching. All are poignant inside looks at naval operations rarely seen by outsiders. Topics include the real story behind the shuttle Challenger tragedy, risking his own life underwater, discovering a Soviet spy living across the street, surviving when an engine ignites, critical missions, and the everyday lives of men and women of the fleet. Compiled by author Robert G. Williscroft and proudly published by Fresh Ink Group. Submariner is available worldwide in hardcover, softcover, and all ebook formats. Dive into Submariner for hijinks and breathtaking adventure with this poignant memoir by a true American hero.
That one is selling quite a bit there. You know, here's an idea. We ought to put Pate together with Jorgensen and have them write a book, How to Drive a Submarine.
Oh, yeah, bring in Kenneth Lindquist, and he can teach the instructor's edition, too.
Oh, that's what, Lindquist. I said Jorgensen, wrong name. Yeah, Lindquist. I just blew my own joke. Dang it.
Just blew your own joke. But we're talking to A.G. Flitcher, and A.G., best known probably for the 5-part Boone and Jacques series. A.G., you want to give us some quick taglines and run through each of these 5 and tell us what they're about? Book number 1 then would be Boone and Jacques, Saddleton's Secret.
Yeah, I can do that. Each book is different, so it's a good idea there. So, book 1, Saddleton's Secret, is more of a urban fantasy where 2 kids, Boone and Jacques, who are about 10 or 11, they discover magical history in Boone's backyard in an underground bunker, and they see all this strange writing, and they end up going into a tunnel that leads back into the house, and they're disappointed. But as the story goes on, there's, old magical foes and kings and creatures, and some of the adults have their own kind of side quests that happen throughout the story, and these 2 kids are caught in the middle of everything, and they bring their friends along the adventure, and they somehow end up out of town into the second book. In the second book, which is more of a Western epic fantasy,
that's
and
the Brothers Odyssey.
Yeah, the Brothers Odyssey.
Yeah.
They're in this, I guess you could call it a wasteland that's on a different planet, which we don't get to see that's on a different planet until the last book. So as far as you're concerned, when you read the second book, you're just in some strange wasteland full of magical and fantastical energies and dark energies, and everyone's kind of trying to just survive and get through this place to get back home. And then we lead into the third book, I think it's like 3 years later, which is Saddleton Haunting. They're back in town, but things are much different. So now Boone and Jacques and Shammy, who was in the first book and the second book, they're all separated. They're all doing their own thing, and they're going through their own difficult circumstances, be it because they're controlled by adults or they're being treated as orphans, because they are essentially. And then by the end of it, where they somehow triumph and they're able to leave this part of their life behind, meaning their childhood. And then we lead into book 4, which is skipping into their adulthood, which is called Citrus Moonlight. They're about 30.
That's spelled C-Y-T-R-U-S. C-Y-T-R-U-S. Citrus.
Yeah, citrus, not citrus. Some people make that mistake. Anyway, book 4 is not necessarily a fantasy book. It's more of a murder mystery. I wanted to try my hand at that to give myself a bit of a palate cleanser from fantasy. There is fantasy, obviously, at the very end, which leads into book 5, the final book. Now, the final book, Sahon, was the most gut-wrenching experience of my life, because not many people know this in terms of my writing process in this final book, but I had chronic tension headaches and dizzy spells every day for 6 months. So I was having a hard time, keeping myself steady, and work was very difficult, and I couldn't really focus. And then halfway through that experience, I got into a car accident, so all my progress went away. Then I had to do physio for 3 months, and it was just, I didn't know what was happening until my physiotherapist told me that what had happened was I had a very strained muscle in my back that was pinching and putting pressure on my nerves that were going up into my cranium and then compacting the muscles in my shoulder. So all of those muscles that were connecting, that were being pinched, were causing all these symptoms. And somehow, I don't know how I achieved it, somehow I was able to fight through all that pain and create something that I'm extremely proud of. So that's why I'm trying so hard to, really showcase this series. Not because of, to me, it's never about the money. It's about the value of the story and the characters and how they transform from book to book, and how I've transformed as a writer and as a human being. So Sahon, to me, is the most emotional and transformative book, not just for me, but especially for the characters, because I throw them through the ringer a lot, and in a positive way. I really give them tools that they never thought they needed or wanted, and it made them that much better in the end.
Fantastic.
Wow. And you had to say goodbye to your... Do you think you'll ever bring those two back for stories in the future?
Yes. I'm going to do one more standalone novel for each character. I don't know when exactly. I do know that Boone will be a secondary character in my dystopian novel called Red Widow Waltz. I can give you a rough explanation of the what's the word? The concept, I guess.
Okay.
Or the premise. The premise is this CD government has been following a group of widowers for their entire adult life. And when they see that they have the potential to be dangerous people that could afflict danger onto Halberton City, which is kind of like my New York, they kind of invite them involuntarily into a virtual reality program called Red Widow Waltz. Whether it be drug-induced or not, that's not the important part. The important part is they created programs specifically designed to their grief and their personalities that could trigger certain actions. When they go home, there's some kind of power, magical power, that Boone has that basically makes him a boogeyman.
Interesting.
And he's kind of like their haunting shadow, I guess you could say. Jacques will be a secondary character with Exantia, his wife. In the book I was talking about that I would do right before my fantasy series called Tar, where they will be the detective duo that are on the outskirts of a town called Barlock, where this energy or being is trying to creep in on the town. So they'll be the detectives and experts in dealing with monsters.
All right. Now, before we wrap things up, what kind of advice would you give to other people wanting to write novels, even short stories?
Breathe, and don't stress so much about how your book is going to turn out. That's not easy to do. But one of the things that I've noticed with novice writers is that they're so scared of how their book is going to be received, or if they're going to be okay with certain mistakes once it's out there. Should I even bother doing this? But honestly, just write for yourself and just breathe and understand that however long it takes for you to profit from your creativity, it doesn't matter. as long as you're proud of what you've created, and you can say I made something, then you're on your way. And it'll take you some time. Unfortunately, the media system in terms of promoting your work is so fragmented and fragile that it just takes some time for people to notice it. Because you could be a great writer, and people might not notice you for a while, and that's not something to be afraid of. It just means that you keep writing, you keep making stuff, and eventually people will notice you. You know, I've been writing Boone and Jack it's done now, but I wrote Boone and Jack over 4 years while working a full-time job, coaching writers every now and then, staying on top of all of my social media, going through all of these emotional troubles and tribulations, and positive things too, obviously.
Basically living life.
But just what I'm trying to say is live your life. Don't put all your energy into one book and then give up. You know, keep living your life and have your writing be something that you do that is a passion, and hopefully in the future your passion becomes your main source of income. But don't hold your breath if it doesn't happen right away.
Yeah.
When I was in school, there were some writers that said that I don't want to write if I'm not going to make any money. It's like, well, that's not the point.
Yeah.
The point is to be able to connect with people on a human level, not on a profitable level.
Which is priceless.
I mean, then you look at like Vincent van Gogh sold, I think, one painting during his lifetime. So it's not about, hey, your work's going to outlast you. So the way I look at it. What I wrote is going to be there long after I'm gone.
So, author A.G. Flitcher, it's been fun having you on. How do people find you out there? You got a or social media that you use?
I have social media. Yeah, it's very simple. You just type in A.G. Flitcher for Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube.
All right. A.G. Flitcher.
All right, yeah. Okay. Thanks for coming on the show, Andre. Next week, people, we're going to have Robert McKenzie, the author of the Chair series, with book 3 about to come out any day now. Robert McKenzie.
And followed by Andrew McGregor, another Scotsman. Mackenzie and McGregor. Aye, let's plant some grass and play golf. Andrew McGregor is the author of How to Paint an American, and he'll be in here to talk about his book. And after that, I'm going to be out of town and not available to a microphone, so we're going to do a rerun. Jerry Pate, retired Naval Lieutenant Commander and author of the poignant military memoir Submariner, which right now is our best-selling book. That's author Jerry Pate. We're going to rerun the last episode we had him on. Yeah, and after that, we've got Michael Scott Clifton, and we don't know a whole lot about him, but we're going to find out as you're going to find out. So tune in for that one. Yeah. And after that,
it's juicy. We'll have to blackmail him. Now, following week, Janice Toney, author of the first of the 4-book series, chapter book illustrated for children and young adults, Daddy Yo-Yo and the Legendary Marble Tournament. So the author, Janice Toney, she's going to be on. And after that is author George Dismukes. We've had him on before, but we're having him on again because we're publishing one of his books. It's Paradise, My Prison. And so tune in for that one. And after that, Najma Thomas, Ph.D., the first commercial we played during the show tonight, as we remember, about the Women's Relief Corps. So that's Najma Thomas. And then after that, going into, I believe it's into July, it might be June, but I think it's July, Alicia Earhart. I finally nailed down a date for her, and I will have that scheduled and created and all that. So she's going to be in, I believe, sometime in July, and she's a popular writer, and that's one of the reasons why I went to extend an invitation to her, and she graciously agreed to do the show. So that should be fun. So thanks to everybody who called in and participated on Twitter, and thanks to A.G. Flitcher for being our guest on tonight's show. Thank you, Andre.
Thank you for having me. That was a lot of fun.
All right. We'll see everybody next time.
See everybody
Bye.
next time.
Bye. Prepare to think as you explore these 19 short stories by author, composer, and producer Stephen Gies. Avoiding any single genre, this collection showcases Gies' storytelling from literary to Southern Gothic to coming of age, allegory, humor, and even fantasy, all finessed to say something about who we are and what we seek. Some of these tales have been passed around for years, others so virgin they have never known the seductive gaze of a reader's eyes. Now, you can go digital, Kindle, Nook, Kobo, iTunes, Google Play, and more, or you can keep it soft with a paperback to whip out in mixed company. Or you can really show off, be the envy of your crowd with a dust-jacketed hardcover. Fresh Ink Group is where it's coming from. Amazon and the rest are where it's at. Just point and click, and you too can feel the electric surge of the latest from Stephen Gies. So when life's currents get to pulling too hard, don't fight it. Just open the book and discover 19 new ways of going with the flow. Because now, more than ever, comes this time to float.
Family secrets can be deadly. When Lisa visits her parents one fateful Saturday morning, she hugs her father and takes her suitcase to her childhood bedroom. The doorbell rings, and 1 minute later, her father lies dead on the floor, 3 bullets to the chest. The death of Eric Holmes sends shockwaves throughout the quiet neighborhood. But for the Holmes family, it's devastating. In this fast-paced psychological thriller, Lisa and her brother embark on a quest to solve the mystery of their father's murder. The journey takes them into a secret world where nothing is as it seems. Once the puzzle pieces begin to coalesce, they realize that their father had multiple lives. As the facts unravel, the siblings discover the true meaning of redemption. Gwen M. Plano's Redemption is available worldwide in softcover, jacketed hardcover, and all ebook formats. Published proudly by Fresh Ink Group. Redemption by Gwen M. Plano.
Check out FreshInkGroup.com for everything publishing. Meet scores of authors. Discover hundreds of great books, plus audiobooks, podcasts, videos, trailers, free stories, free manuscript evaluations, and more. That's FreshInkGroup.com.
You've been a part of Voice of Indy, a production of Fresh Ink Group. Spread the word, support our guests, then find us at FreshInkGroup.com and be sure to hashtag Fresh Ink Group.